Families fight, but mine turned arguing into a full-time sport. Still, nothing prepared me for the day my brother stormed out of our group chat like it was a burning building, and all because of a screenshot I posted. I didn't post it to be cruel, or to embarrass him, or to make anyone take sides. I posted it because I was tired of pretending that the things he said in private were somehow jokes when they were aimed directly at me. He had spent years poking at old wounds, calling me sensitive, twisting conversations into traps, and then laughing when I reacted. But the message he sent me that morning crossed a line we had both danced around for years. When I dropped the screenshot into the group chat, the typing bubbles exploded. First confusion, then silence, then chaos. My brother denied it, then blamed me, then blamed context, then blamed everyone else. And finally, he left the chat entirely, slamming the digital door behind him. Now half my family thinks I exposed him. The other half thinks I finally defended myself. And I'm stuck wondering if I blew up something that was already broken beyond repair. My family hasn't stopped talking about the screenshot incident since it happened. Some of them whisper about it in private messages. Others pretend it never happened at all. And then there are the ones who call me, one by one, to ask the same question in different tones. Did you really have to post it? But what no one wants to admit is that the screenshot wasn't the problem. It was the proof of a pattern. Proof of what he said when nobody else was looking. Proof that maybe I wasn't imagining the way he treated me all these years. My brother always had a talent for playing the victim, twisting everything into a story where he was the misunderstood hero and I was the dramatic one. So when the truth finally surfaced, it hit harder than any argument we'd ever had. Before I dive into exactly what that screenshot said, why I posted it, and why my brother hasn't spoken to me since, make sure you subscribe to the Conflict Corner. Here, we don't just tell family stories. We reveal the parts people try hardest to hide. The whole thing started on a Tuesday morning, the kind of morning where nothing feels dramatic at first. I was sitting in my car outside work, finishing the last sip of coffee that tasted more like regret than caffeine, when my phone buzzed with a message from my brother. Seeing his name pop up wasn't unusual. We talked, but rarely in any way that felt meaningful. Our conversations were more like verbal chess matches than genuine communication. He liked to test boundaries, push buttons, make jokes that only he found funny. He'd perfected the art of disguising insults as humor, the kind that made everyone else laugh but left me wondering why it stung. I opened the message expecting something mildly annoying, maybe a comment about our parents or a meme he found hilarious, but instead, I stared at a paragraph that made my stomach twist. It wasn't one insult. It wasn't one joke gone too far. It was a list, an actual list, of all the things he thought were wrong with me. The ways he said I had failed the family. The reasons he believed people were tired of dealing with me. It looked like something he had typed out days before, saved in his notes, and sent the moment he felt annoyed. I remember blinking at the screen, thinking maybe this was meant for someone else. Maybe he didn't intend to send it to me. Maybe this was another one of his accidental overshares. But no. At the bottom, he wrote, "Someone had to say it." My chest tightened, my hands shook, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Humiliation. Not the sharp kind that burns instantly, but the slow kind that spreads inward, numbing everything else. I typed a response, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Anything I could say, he would twist. Anything I could argue, he would turn into proof that I was overreacting. So instead, I took a screenshot. Not out of revenge, not out of anger, but out of the simple, painful need to document what he said. Because I knew the moment I confronted him, he would pretend it never happened. I saved it to my camera roll and sat there in the parking lot, staring at the image like it was something toxic I couldn't put down. For the next few hours, I kept replaying the words in my head, not because I believed them, but because a part of me feared he believed everyone. That afternoon, the conversation in our family group chat turned to weekend plans. My sister-in-law asked if we were still doing dinner at my parents' house. My mom sent a thumbs up emoji. My brother responded with a sarcastic comment about me always being late, adding a winking face to soften the blow. Everyone reacted with laughing emojis, and something inside me snapped. Not in anger, but in clarity. I was done being the quiet one, the one who swallowed everything to keep the peace, the one everyone expected to be the bigger person. So I did something I had never done before. I opened the group chat, scrolled to the bottom, and dropped the screenshot without saying a single word. The moment it appeared, 3 people immediately started typing. Then the bubbles disappeared, then reappeared. It was chaos and silence, everyone wanting to say something but too shocked to commit to the words. My mom finally broke it. "What is this?" she asked. My brother's reply came 2 seconds later. "Out of context," he wrote. "This isn't the whole conversation." But there was no other conversation. That message had been completely unprovoked, sent out of nowhere. Before I could respond, he continued typing. "You're being dramatic. You're making it look worse than it was. I was just messing with you." But then he said the line that truly revealed everything. "You always play the victim." The irony almost made me laugh. I wasn't the one tearing someone apart in a private message. I wasn't the one hiding behind sarcasm and calling it honesty. All I did was shine a light on what he said. And when someone who lives in the dark gets exposed, they don't apologize. They panic. My dad sent a message next. Just one word. "Enough." Then my sister chimed in. "This is not okay." My brother immediately went defensive. "Everyone's acting like saints. You all talk behind each other's back too. So don't pretend you're perfect." That was the moment I realized the screenshot didn't just reveal what he thought of me. It revealed what he thought of all of us. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't about one message. It was about years of behavior no one had addressed. The way he dismissed feelings, the way he mocked vulnerabilities, the way he shut down any confrontation by calling people too sensitive. He tried to redirect the anger, but the group wasn't buying it. Not this time. "You shouldn't have sent that," my mom texted me privately. "You're making things worse." And there it was, the exact reaction I expected. Not concern for what he said, concern for the exposure. The family motto had always been, "Keep the peace, even if it hurts you." But I wasn't playing that game anymore. "He sent it to me," I replied. I didn't put words in his mouth. She didn't respond. Back in the main chat, my brother typed one last message. "If this is how everyone's going to treat me, I'm out." And then he left the group. No goodbye, no explanation, just vanished. My phone exploded with reactions. My sister was furious. My dad was silent, never a good sign. My mom called me immediately saying, "You should have handled it privately." But that was the problem. I had handled it privately for years, and privacy only protected him, never me. By the time I hung up, I felt both relieved and nauseous. Relieved because I finally showed the truth. Nauseous because I knew there was no going back. The next day, my sister texted me privately. "You did the right thing," she said. "He needed to be held accountable." My dad texted too. "I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself." But my mom sent nothing, and my brother, silent. For the first time in our lives, he had no comeback, no excuse, no joke to hide behind. And even though I didn't post that screenshot for drama or revenge or attention, I couldn't help wondering if exposing the truth finally broke something that had been cracked for years. The group chat felt empty without him, but also calmer, quieter, less sharp around the edges. For once, I didn't wake up dreading what sarcastic comment he would send next. But I also knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Families don't fall apart over one screenshot. They fall apart over the years of silence that came before it. And for the first time, I was ready to stop being silent. The day after my brother left the group chat, everything in my family shifted in this tense, quiet way that didn't need words to be felt. There wasn't an explosion, no dramatic showdown. Instead, it felt like walking into a room you've been in 1,000 times, only to realize the furniture has been moved an inch to the left. Nothing obvious, everything different. My mom called again that morning. I didn't want to answer, but ignoring her would have made the situation worse. Her voice was tight, breathy, the way it gets when she's trying to control a conversation before it even starts. "I talked to your brother," she said. "He's very upset." I almost laughed, not because anything was funny, but because of how predictable this was. Her first concern wasn't the content of the message he sent me. It wasn't how deeply those words cut. It wasn't even whether I was okay. It was his feelings, his embarrassment, him being upset. "He's upset?" I repeated, keeping my voice steady even though irritation crawled up my throat. "He sent that to me. He says it wasn't meant how it sounded," she replied quickly, like she'd been rehearsing the line. "He said he was venting and didn't expect you to take it seriously." I closed my eyes, leaning back in my chair. "He wrote an entire list of things he thinks are wrong with me," I said. "He wasn't venting, he was attacking." She sighed in that disappointed mother way that always felt like a slap. "You know how your brother is. He gets emotional. He says things he doesn't mean." "No," I said, more firmly than I intended. He says exactly what he means, and then he hides behind jokes and, "You're too sensitive," when someone calls him out. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. "You escalated it by putting it in the group chat," she finally said. "That should have stayed between you two." There it was. The golden rule of our family. Protect the problem, not the person who's hurt. Why? I asked. So he could pretend it didn't happen? So he could twist the story? He does that every time. "You embarrassed him," she snapped. "You humiliated your own brother in front of the family." "He humiliated me privately," I said. "I just stopped letting him do it in the dark." She exhaled shakily. "I'm not taking sides. You already did," I said quietly. Another silence. Longer this time. When she spoke again, her tone softened, but not in a comforting way, more like someone trying to negotiate their way out of discomfort. "He wants to talk to you," she said, "privately, without everyone else watching." "To apologize?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. She hesitated. Too long. "To explain," she finally said, which meant no apology, no accountability, more excuses, more manipulation. "I'll think about it," I told her. It was the safest answer I could give, without committing to something I wasn't ready for. After the call ended, I felt this weird mix of guilt and liberation swirling in my chest. Guilt because confrontation always feels like betrayal in a dysfunctional family. Liberation because, for once, I hadn't folded, softened, or shrunk myself to keep everyone else comfortable. My dad called me later that afternoon. "You doing okay?" he asked. No judgment, no pressure. Just a simple question, gentle and sincere. "I think so," I said, and it surprised me how true it felt. "Your brother's angry," he said, "but that's not new. He's been angry for a long time. He just finally ran out of places to direct it." I hadn't expected him to say that. My dad had always been neutral, the quiet observer, the man who spoke in small doses but always in truth. "Do you think I was wrong for posting it?" I asked. He paused, considering the question the way he always does, carefully, honestly. "I think you did what you felt you had to do," he said. He crossed a line, and sometimes showing the truth is the only way to stop a pattern. "Mom doesn't see it that way," he sighed. "Your mother wants peace, even if it means pretending." "Peace at what cost?" I asked. "At any cost," he said softly. "That's her way, not mine." That sentence stuck with me long after we hung up. Later that evening, my sister texted me. She's the kind of person who doesn't sugarcoat anything, which I appreciated now more than ever. "He's furious," she wrote, "but he's also embarrassed. He expected everyone to laugh at what he wrote, not judge him for it." That made something inside me twist. How warped do you have to be to assume cruelty will be celebrated? "Did you talk to him?" I asked. "Yeah," she replied. "He says you betrayed him." I rubbed my forehead, feeling that familiar ache of being misunderstood. "All I did was show his words." "Exactly," she wrote. "He's mad the mask came off." That was the moment I realized the real reason the screenshot hit him so hard. It shattered his control. For years he controlled how people saw him. He controlled the stories, the jokes, the narrative. But one screenshot pulled the curtain back. And for people like him, nothing is more terrifying than being seen without the armor of sarcasm and deflection. The next morning my phone buzzed again, this time with a long message from my brother. I opened it with the kind of dread people reserve for medical test results or legal papers. "We need to talk," he wrote, "but not with everyone watching. You made me look like a monster. You know I didn't mean it like that. You always twist things and play the victim. I'm not the villain here. You embarrassed me. You crossed a line too." I stared at the message, feeling my pulse rise slowly, steadily. There it was again. His favorite move. Reverse victim and offender. I typed out a few different replies, deleted each one, not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I had too much to say. And none of it would change him. People who don't see a problem with their behavior don't suddenly wake up enlightened. They only shift when reality forces them to. I didn't respond, not out of spite, out of self-preservation. A few hours later, he sent another message. "So you're ignoring me now?" Classic. I put my phone face down. I wasn't doing this anymore. Not today. Not this way. Not on his terms. That evening, my sister called again. "He's spiraling," she said. "Now he's telling Mom that you've always hated him." I snorted at that. If I hated him, I would have exposed him years ago. "I know," she said, "but he's rewriting the story to make himself feel better." Of course he was. He always did. "What should I do?" I asked. She sighed. "Nothing. Let him sit with it. Everyone knows what he said. Everyone saw it. There's no spinning this one. After I hung up, I realized something important. The truth didn't break the family. The truth just revealed what was already broken. My brother wasn't avoiding me because of the screenshot. He was avoiding accountability. My mom wasn't upset about the message. She was upset that the conflict wasn't kept secret. My dad wasn't shocked. He was relieved someone finally said something. And I felt something I hadn't felt in years, maybe ever. Validated, not vindicated, not victorious, just validated. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. I wasn't imagining years of belittling disguised as humor. The screenshot wasn't a betrayal. It was the first honest moment our family had in a long time. But honesty comes with consequences, and I knew the biggest one was still coming. The face-to-face conversation with my brother, the one I had avoided for years, the one he wasn't going to let go, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. The face-to-face conversation with my brother loomed over me like a storm cloud. It wasn't scheduled, of course. Nothing in my family was ever that organized, but I could feel it coming, like the pressure in the air before thunder cracks open the sky. I avoided answering his messages for 2 more days, not because I was scared of him, but because I needed space to figure out how I actually felt. In the past, every time he upset me, I would convince myself I was overreacting. I'd tell myself he didn't mean it, that he was stressed, that he was joking, that I should just let it go. But now, after the screenshot, after seeing everyone's reactions, after hearing my dad's quiet honesty and my sister's support, I realized something painful. I had spent most of my adult life minimizing the hurt he caused just so our relationship wouldn't explode. But it exploded anyway. And now, I had to decide what to do with the pieces. On the 3rd morning, my brother showed up at my apartment unannounced. He didn't knock softly. He pounded on the door like he was trying to kick it down with his fists. I froze. My first instinct wasn't fear. It was exhaustion. I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't sure this conversation could happen without becoming another scene he would twist and retell until I doubted myself again. But avoiding him wouldn't solve anything. So I opened the door. He stormed inside as if he owned the place, his face flushed with anger, eyes darting around like he was looking for proof that I had been talking about him behind his back. "You could have answered your phone," he snapped. "You could have not sent me that message," I replied calmly. The calmness irritated him more than anything else I could have said. He thrived on chaos, on emotional reactions, on being able to claim that I blew everything out of proportion. My quiet unnerved him. He paced in front of my couch, running his hands through his hair. "Do you have any idea how humiliating that was?" he finally said. "Everyone saw it. Everyone judged me. Even Mom is acting weird around me now. Maybe she sees you clearly for the first time," I said. He glared at me. "Oh, so now you're the hero. You exposed me. So what? Now you get to finally feel superior?" "This isn't about superiority," I said. "It's about honesty." "Honesty?" he barked. "You think posting a private message to the whole family is honesty? That's betrayal." "No," I said quietly. "Betrayal is saying things like that and expecting me to carry the weight of it alone." He stopped pacing. That hit him. I could see it in his eyes. Something sharp, something defensive, something scared. "You know I didn't mean all of that," he insisted. "I was mad. I was venting." "At who?" I asked. "At me. At Mom. At the whole family? You wrote things that weren't just mean. They were calculated." He flinched, not because he disagreed, but because part of him knew it was true. "I was trying to push you," he finally muttered. "You get so dramatic about everything, and sometimes I feel like you need to toughen up." That was the line he always fell back on. "You're too sensitive. Toughen up. Take a joke. I'm just blunt. You're the problem." The roles were always predetermined in his mind. "I don't need to toughen up," I said. "I need to stop letting you walk all over me." His jaw tightened. "Walk all over you? That's ridiculous. You're such a victim." I took a slow breath, grounding myself. "Do you hear yourself?" He opened his mouth to argue, but I held up a hand. "No, just listen for once." He crossed his arms but stayed quiet. "You say whatever you want, whenever you want. And when someone gets hurt, you blame them for feeling it. You call it honesty, but it's cruelty. You call it humor, but it's bullying. And you call it venting, when you're really just taking your anger out on the easiest target." His throat bobbed as he swallowed. A flicker of guilt crossed his face before he forced it away. "So that's how you see me?" he asked, almost quietly. "That's how you treat me," I said. "I didn't create that version of you. You did." He looked away, his jaw clenching again. I could tell he wanted to fight, wanted to argue. wanted to spin the story until I was the aggressor, but he couldn't. Not with a screenshot in existence, not with written proof that contradicted every excuse he'd ever used. After a long moment, he said, "You didn't have to show everyone. You didn't have to send it," I replied. "You could have talked to me. You could have asked what was going on. You could have acted like a brother." That last part hung in the air like smoke. His face softened, barely, almost imperceptibly. "I didn't think it would hurt you that much," he said, voice low. I don't know. I thought you were used to it." That admission felt like a punch. Used to it. He genuinely believed I had built immunity to his cruelty. "You shouldn't want anyone to get used to being hurt," I said. He sat down on the arm of the chair, rubbing his face. The anger was gone now, replaced by something heavier, something real. "I don't know why I do that," he admitted. "Why I get like that. I always feel judged by everyone. And I guess I try to strike first, before anyone can get to me." For the first time in years, I saw him. Not the sarcastic version he performed, not the aggressive front, but the person underneath. Still defensive, still flawed, but human. "You weren't striking first," I said gently. "You were striking down." He didn't argue. He didn't deny it. He just stared at the floor like the truth was too bright to look at directly. After a long silence, he said, "I don't want things to be like this." "Neither do I said. "But things can't go back to how they were." He nodded slowly. "I know." Another silence, but this one felt different. Less sharp, less hostile. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "Accountability," I said, "and respect. And for you to understand that what you say has weight." He exhaled, shoulders dropping. "I'm sorry," he said, the words stiff and uneven, like he didn't know how to shape them properly. "I shouldn't have sent that. I shouldn't have said any of it. And I shouldn't have blamed you for everyone seeing what I said. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't nothing." "Thank you," I said softly. "That means something." "So, what now?" he asked. "Now," I said, "we try to do better. Both of us." "I can do that," he whispered. For the first time, I believed him. When he left, the apartment felt strangely quiet. Not empty, but peaceful. Like a room aired out after a long, stale winter. I didn't know what the future held for our relationship. I didn't know if we would ever be close or if this was just the first step towards something healthier. But I knew one thing for sure. The dynamic had changed. Permanently. And for once, I felt like I wasn't the only one carrying the weight of it. In the days after my brother came to my apartment, the house felt strangely quiet, like the dust had settled after a storm, but the air still carried the echo of thunder. I wasn't used to the silence, not this kind anyway. The usual tension, the emotional charge that always lingered after any interaction with him, just wasn't there. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of inner stillness. Not peace exactly, but something close to it. Something like space. Space to think. Space to breathe. Space to figure out who I was outside the role my family had assigned me. But families don't reset overnight. They rearrange themselves slowly, awkwardly, like furniture being dragged across the floor by people who can't agree on the right layout. And soon enough, I felt the shift coming from the other side of the family, my mother. She called me again, this time asking if I could come over for dinner that weekend. Her tone seemed hopeful, almost too hopeful. And when my mother was that hopeful, it usually meant she wanted to stage something. A reconciliation, a reset, a performance of normalcy. I agreed anyway. Not because I wanted a staged moment, but because I needed to see what version of my family existed now, that the truth was out in the open. When I arrived at my parents' house on Saturday evening, the air felt thick with tension, like everyone had dressed up their emotions along with their clothes. My brother's car was already in the driveway. Of course it was. I walked in through the front door, and immediately, 3 pairs of eyes turned toward me. My mom, my dad, and my brother, standing together in the living room like actors waiting for the curtain to rise. "Hey," my brother said quietly. Not sarcastic, not defensive, just normal. It felt almost foreign. "Hey," I replied. My mom stepped forward with the kind of smile people wear when they're trying too hard to pretend everything is fine. "I made your favorite," she said. "Chicken with rosemary. Thought it'd be nice to have a calm night." I nodded, appreciating the gesture even though I knew it wasn't just about the food. She wanted to orchestrate healing. Needed it, actually. My dad simply gave me a nod, a small, honest gesture that felt more grounding than anything else in the room. We sat down for dinner, and for a few minutes, the only sounds were utensils and plates. No one dared jump into conversation first. It was like we were all waiting to see who would flinch. Eventually, my mother broke the silence. "I know it's been an intense week," she began carefully, folding her napkin as if it were the fragile center of the discussion. "But I think it's important that we talk, as a family." My stomach tightened, but I kept my expression neutral, my mom continued, glancing between me and my brother. "I think we've let misunderstandings and hurt feelings build up for too long, and maybe this is a chance for us to start over." My brother shifted in his seat, uncomfortable. He wasn't used to vulnerability, not his own, not anyone else's. "It's not just misunderstandings," I said gently. "It's behavior, patterns, things we all ignored." My mom nodded slowly, as if she knew I was right but didn't want to say it out loud. My dad stayed silent, which usually meant he agreed with me. My brother cleared his throat. "Look," he said, not quite making eye contact. "I know I screwed up. I said some things I shouldn't have said, and I don't expect everyone to just forget it." That startled me. Not the content exactly, but the way he said it. Plain, honest, no sarcasm. "I'm trying," he added. "I'm trying to figure out why I get like that, why I go for the jugular when I'm upset. I know it's not right." I nodded, appreciating the honesty, but I didn't let it sweep everything away. "I'm not asking you to be perfect," I said. "I'm asking you to be aware, and to stop using me as your punching bag." He winced a little. "I know." My mom looked relieved, like she had been holding her breath since Monday. "This is good," she said, clasping her hands together. "This is progress." My dad finally spoke. "Talking is good, but it has to come with change." My brother nodded. "I know." A quiet fell over us again. Not uncomfortable this time, but reflective, like everyone was recalibrating. After dinner, my mom insisted we all move to the living room. She had lit a candle, which she only did when she wanted the space to feel softer than the situation actually was. We sat down, my parents on the love seat, me and my brother on opposite ends of the couch. For the first time, I didn't feel like I had to sit small to make him comfortable. I sat normally, fully, myself, and he didn't take it as a challenge. "I've been thinking a lot these last few days," he said suddenly, "about how we grew up, how I grew up. I think I learned early on that the only way to get attention was to be louder, more sarcastic, more hurtful," I offered softly. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I guess so." That sentence alone told me more about him than anything he said in the past 20 years. "It doesn't excuse it," he added quickly. "I'm not trying to get out of anything. I didn't realize how much I was copying what I saw." "What do you mean?" I asked. He hesitated, then glanced at our parents. My mom looked confused, like she had no idea where he was going. My dad's jaw tightened. My brother continued. "I remember growing up watching how everyone tiptoed around mom when she was stressed, or how dad would shut down instead of arguing. And I guess I learned that blowing up was the only way to feel heard." My mom's face crumpled slightly. "I didn't know you felt that way," she whispered. "I didn't either," he admitted. "Until this week." I leaned back, absorbing his words, not dismissing them, not excusing him, just understanding. "That message you sent me," I said carefully, "wasn't just mean. It was cruel. It made me feel small. It made me feel like you saw me as a problem, not a brother." He swallowed hard, eyes glistening. "I know. I'm sorry." The room felt heavy, but not the suffocating kind. More like the heaviness that comes with finally putting something down that you've been carrying for too long. My mom wiped her eyes. "I know we've all hurt each other," she said, "in different ways. But maybe this is our chance to stop pretending and start being honest." "Honest is good," my dad said. "Honest is a start." My brother looked at me again. "Can we try? Not to forget everything? Not to pretend nothing happened? Just try?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah," I said. "We can try." We sat in silence after that, not awkward or forced, just quiet. A shared quiet. A new kind of quiet. The kind that didn't feel like holding your breath. The kind that felt like finally exhaling after years of tension. When I left that night, I didn't feel fixed. I didn't feel healed. But I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Not hope that everything would go back to normal, because normal was the problem, but hope that we could build something new, something better, something honest. The next day, my brother sent a message in the group chat, a simple one. "Thanks for dinner. Thanks for talking." No sarcasm, no passive aggression, no tension. And for the first time, I didn't brace myself before opening a message from him. Maybe this was the beginning, not of forgiveness, not yet, but of change. And for the first time in my life, that was enough. In the weeks that followed that dinner, I felt myself adjusting to a new version of my family, one that didn't exist before the screenshot, before the confrontation, before the shift, none of us realized we needed. It was strange at first, like walking into a room that had been rearranged overnight. Everything familiar, but nothing quite where it used to be. The group chat, which had once been a minefield of sarcasm and disguised hostility, became quiet. Not empty, just calm. My brother's messages were shorter, but gentler. My mom was still her anxious, over-involved self, but she asked more questions instead of assuming answers. My dad checked in more than he used to, sending small updates about things like the weather or what he fixed around the house, which for him was practically poetry. And me? I felt both lighter and heavier. Lighter because the constant tension had finally lifted. Heavier because now that things were changing, I had to figure out what I wanted those changes to look like. Healing wasn't just about someone apologizing. It was about unlearning habits so old they felt like instincts. One afternoon, my brother texted me asking if I wanted to grab coffee. He had never done that before. The last time he invited me anywhere one-on-one, I think we were teenagers, and the outing ended with him making fun of something I said to a girl we both knew. But I went, not because I trusted him fully yet, but because I was curious. Curious about who he was trying to become. We met at a small place near downtown, the kind that has too many plants and mismatched chairs, but somehow feels comforting. He was already seated when I arrived, sipping something that looked like he had ordered the first item on the menu just to avoid making a decision. When he saw me, he straightened a little, not tense, just aware. "Hey," he said, "thanks for coming." "Of course," I replied. We ordered, and after a moment of awkward silence, he took a deep breath. "I've been going to therapy," he said. The words landed softly but with weight. Therapy had always been a taboo growing up. Not because my parents were against it, but because nobody acknowledged emotions enough to consider treating them. "That's great," I said honestly. "How's it been?" He shrugged, but it wasn't the dismissive kind. More like he didn't have all the language yet. "We're talking about anger, control, why I say things I regret, why I go after the people closest to me." He paused. "It's uncomfortable, but I think it's helping." I nodded, letting him have the space to continue. It felt like he wanted to. "The therapist asked me when I first learned that anger got results," he said. "And I told her about when we were kids. When I'd blow up, everyone jumped. Everyone backed off. It made me feel powerful. But the power was fake," I said gently. He looked down. "Yeah, it always was." There was something raw in the way he admitted it, like he had peeled back a layer he wasn't used to showing. "I'm not asking you to forget what I said," he continued. I want to be different. I don't want to be the guy who hurts people first because he's scared they'll hurt him." "I'm glad you're trying," I said. "I can see the effort." He nodded slowly. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why didn't you say something earlier, before it got to this point?" I exhaled, not from frustration but from the weight of the truth. "Because every time I did, you made me feel crazy," I said softly. "You made me doubt my reactions. You called me dramatic or sensitive or emotional. And eventually I stopped trying to defend myself because I didn't want to deal with the fallout." He stared at the table, his expression tight. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I didn't realize how much control I had in those moments." "You didn't want to realize," I corrected gently. "There's a difference." He nodded again, slower this time. "You're right. The silence between us wasn't harsh. It felt like a recalibration, like we were both learning how to talk to each other without the old script." "I'm not trying to win," I said. "I don't need an apology every day. I just want a relationship where I don't flinch when your name pops up on my phone." His shoulders sagged, not in defeat, but in understanding. "I want that too," he said. "I want us to be good. I want us to be brothers." For a moment, I saw him the way he must have been as a kid, scared, unsure, wanting approval but not knowing how to ask for it without aggression. "We can get there," I said, "but it'll take time." "I know," he whispered, "but I'm willing." When we left the cafe, he pulled me into a hug. It was awkward, slightly stiff but genuine, and for the first time in years, I didn't tense up. Over the next month, small but meaningful changes appeared. He apologized without being cornered into it. He paused before making a sharp comment. He asked questions instead of assuming. He checked in, which was something he had never done before. One evening, he sent a message in the group chat. Just a simple joke, but gentle, not at anyone's expense. My mom responded with laughing emojis. My dad sent a thumbs up, and I felt something shift inside me. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet, but it was something close to acceptance. Acceptance that people can change when they decide to face the parts of themselves they've been avoiding. One night, my mom called me. She didn't sound anxious for once, She sounded grateful. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" I asked. "For not giving up on him. For not giving up on us." I thought about that. About how easy it would have been to cut ties, to walk away, to protect myself by staying distant forever. But change rarely comes from distance. It comes from boundaries, yes, but also from confrontation, honesty, vulnerability, and the willingness to demand better. "I didn't do it for him," I said softly. "I did it for me." "I know," she replied, "and that's why it worked." Later that night, I opened the group chat and scrolled to the screenshot, the one that started all of this. I didn't feel anger anymore, or humiliation, or bitterness. I felt clarity. It wasn't proof of his cruelty anymore. It was proof of a line, a boundary, a moment where I finally chose myself over the version of me he had constructed. And maybe that's what families are. Not just shared blood and memories, but the ways we learn, unlearn, break, rebuild, hurt, heal, collapse, rise, and try again. Months later, when my brother sent me a message asking if I wanted to go to a baseball game with him, just the two of us, I hesitated for only a second before saying yes. Not because everything was perfect, not because all wounds had healed, but because we were finally building something real, something honest, something new. That screenshot didn't break my family. It revealed the cracks that were already there, the ones we kept stepping over until one day we couldn't avoid them anymore. And sometimes, exposing the truth isn't an act of betrayal. It's an act of survival, of connection, of change. Looking back now, I don't regret posting it. Not for a second. It didn't destroy us. It forced us to confront what was destroying us. And maybe that's the real story here. Not the screenshot, not the fight, not the fallout, but the choice to stop accepting a version of love that hurt more than it healed. For the first time in my life, I feel like my family sees me. And for the first time, I see them too.